Have you ever wondered why some people command respect effortlessly while others struggle to gain it despite their best efforts? Do you find yourself feeling disrespected in certain situations and unsure how to change that dynamic? What if the key to never being disrespected again lies not in controlling others, but in transforming yourself? Let's consider a simple example. Imagine two individuals walking into the same crowded room. One exudes calm confidence and speaks with clarity, and everyone listens intently. The other appears anxious, unsure, and often ignored. What makes the difference? It's not their status or wealth, but something far deeper. A quality of inner respect that radiates outward. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we unravel the secrets to a fulfilling and empowered life. Today, we'll explore profound teachings inspired by Buddhism that reveal how you can cultivate a state of mind so steady and self-assured that no one will dare to disrespect you again. But before we dive in, let's take a moment. Did you know there are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers subscribe? So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. It helps us bring more transformative wisdom directly to you. Respect begins within. Buddhism teaches that the way others treat you is often a reflection of how you see yourself. When you carry self-respect, rooted in compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom, it creates a ripple effect, influencing how others perceive and respond to you. Respect is not demanded. It's earned through authenticity and inner strength. In this first part, we'll uncover how self-awareness lays the groundwork for respect. According to Buddhist teachings, self-awareness is like a lamp illuminating the mind. When you know yourself, your values, strengths, and limitations, you become unshakable. This clarity gives you the courage to act with integrity and confidence, no matter the circumstances. Furthermore, Buddhism emphasizes letting go of the need for external validation. Seeking approval from others can make you vulnerable to disrespect. Instead, focus on cultivating qualities that matter: kindness, honesty, and resilience. When you embody these virtues, you naturally earn the respect of others without chasing it. Lastly, remember that respect is not a one-way street. Treating others with genuine respect, regardless of their behavior, reflects your character, not theirs. Buddhism reminds us that how we respond to others shapes our reality. If you wish to never be disrespected, become a beacon of respect yourself. In the coming parts, we'll delve deeper into practices that help you master emotional balance, overcome ego, and radiate a presence that demands respect effortlessly. Stay with us as we journey together toward a life where disrespect becomes a thing of the past. The Buddhist path to inner dignity. In the quiet moments of your life, have you ever stopped to ask yourself why certain situations make you feel disrespected? Do you wonder why some people seem to demand respect, while others constantly find themselves being overlooked? What if the path to never being disrespected again is not about changing others, but about changing how you stand in the world? Buddhism offers profound wisdom about the power of inner dignity. Dignity is not something external. It is not something that others give you. It is a deep quality within, a state of being that remains unshaken regardless of how others treat you. This inner dignity is the foundation of respect. When you understand your true worth and your connection to the world, disrespect from others begins to lose its power. The key is to realize that your worth is not determined by anyone else's opinion of you. It is determined by how you see yourself and how you treat the world around you. The Buddhist teachings encourage us to cultivate an awareness of our own inherent dignity. This is a quiet, powerful force that does not boast, does not seek attention, and does not demand validation from others. True dignity arises from knowing yourself fully, your strengths, your weaknesses, your joys, and your sorrows. It is not about being perfect. It is about being authentic and embracing your true nature. When you begin to understand your inherent dignity, you stop looking outside yourself for approval. You no longer need others to validate your worth. This shift in perspective is the first step towards standing tall in your own power. In Buddhism, there is a teaching called right view, which means seeing things as they truly are. This applies not only to the world around you, but also to yourself. Right view helps you see yourself without the distortions of ego or self-doubt. It allows you to see that your true worth is not tied to external conditions. When you have this clarity, no one can take your dignity away from you. One of the most important aspects of inner dignity is understanding the impermanence of all things. We live in a world where things come and go, relationships, possessions, status, but your dignity is not something that can be taken away by time or circumstances. It is unchanging. In the face of adversity, when others treat you with disrespect, this understanding helps you remain steady. You are not shaken by what others say or do because you know that their actions do not define you. Take a moment to reflect on your life. Have you ever allowed the words or actions of others to shake your sense of self? Perhaps someone insulted you, ignored you, or belittled you. In those moments, did you lose your balance? Did you let their actions dictate your worth? Now, imagine standing in the center of your life, grounded and calm, while the world spins around you. You are not affected by what others think or say. You are not attached to their approval. You simply stand tall in your own worth, knowing that no one can take away the peace and respect you have for yourself. The Buddha taught that true freedom comes from within. It is the freedom to be yourself, without needing anyone else to tell you who you are. This is what it means to live with dignity. When you live with this understanding, no one will be able to disrespect you, because you are no longer dependent on others to define your value. But how do you begin to walk this path of inner dignity? How do you cultivate a sense of self-worth that is unshakable? The practice begins with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, of observing your thoughts, feelings, and reactions without judgment. In moments of disrespect, mindfulness helps you recognize when your ego is being triggered. It allows you to notice the emotional reactions that arise, anger, hurt, or frustration, without identifying with them. You see these emotions for what they are: temporary, fleeting, and not a reflection of your true self. Through mindfulness, you learn to observe the world without getting caught up in it. When someone disrespects you, instead of reacting impulsively, you take a step back and recognize that their actions do not define you. You do not have to respond with anger or defensiveness. Instead, you can choose to respond with wisdom and clarity. Another key practice is self-compassion. In those moments when you feel disrespected, it's easy to fall into self-criticism. You might wonder why you allowed it to happen, or you might feel weak for being affected. However, the Buddhist path encourages us to be kind to ourselves in those moments. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a dear friend. When you feel disrespected, instead of blaming yourself, offer yourself love and patience. Acknowledge your feelings without judgment and remind yourself that your worth is not defined by how others treat you. It is also important to remember that respect begins with how you treat others. The Buddha taught that kindness, patience, and understanding are the keys to creating a peaceful and harmonious world. When you treat others with respect, you create an environment where respect is naturally returned. This does not mean allowing others to walk all over you, but it does mean treating others with dignity, even in difficult situations. When you embody these qualities, others will begin to mirror them back to you. As you walk this path of cultivating inner dignity, you will begin to notice a shift in how others treat you. People will begin to respect you not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Your energy will radiate a quiet confidence that commands respect, and people will be drawn to your calm, centered presence. But remember, the journey does not end here. The path to inner dignity is not a destination. It is a lifelong practice. It requires patience, perseverance, and a commitment to seeing yourself as you truly are. As you continue to grow in mindfulness, self-compassion, and wisdom, you will become more and more grounded in your own dignity. And in doing so, you will find that no one can disrespect you again, because you will no longer allow it to affect your sense of self. The Buddhist teachings remind us that we have the power to change how we experience the world. We do not have to be at the mercy of others' opinions or actions. When we cultivate inner dignity, we rise above the need for external validation. We stand tall in our own worth, and no one can take that away from us. As you continue on this journey, remember that true dignity is not something that is earned from others. It is something that is already within you, waiting to be discovered. When you realize this, you will find that no matter what happens, you will never be disrespected again. Mastering emotional balance in the face of disrespect. You walk into a room and feel the gaze of others upon you. The energy shifts, and suddenly, you're aware of their judgments. Someone speaks sharply to you. Your heart races. Your mind begins to whirl. What do you do now? How do you stay calm and collected in the face of such disrespect? In moments like this, the true test of your inner strength begins. The world outside may be chaotic, but within, you must remain still, like a calm lake that reflects the moon without disturbance. The teachings of Buddhism offer us a profound method for mastering emotional balance, an essential skill for never being disrespected again. First, let's consider this. Disrespect, much like any emotion, arises and passes. It is not permanent. Think of it as a cloud in the sky. It may darken the sky for a moment, but it always moves on. When someone disrespects you, it's often a reflection of their own inner turmoil, not a direct attack on your worth. Their words may sting for a moment, but you have the power to choose how to respond. When faced with disrespect, the first step is to pause. Before reacting, take a deep breath. This simple act brings your awareness back to the present moment, allowing you to respond with mindfulness, not emotion. In Buddhism, this is known as cultivating the beginner's mind. A beginner's mind is open, receptive, and free of preconceived notions. When you cultivate this mind, you are not immediately swept away by the currents of anger or hurt. You simply observe and choose your next step with clarity. The second key is awareness of your emotions. Buddhism teaches us to observe our feelings without judgment. When you feel disrespected, instead of condemning yourself or others, notice what is happening inside of you. Are you angry, hurt, confused? By identifying your emotions, you separate yourself from them. You are not your feelings. They are simply passing visitors. This practice of awareness helps you prevent knee-jerk reactions, allowing you to respond with wisdom, not impulsiveness. As you breathe and observe, the next practice is compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. In the face of disrespect, it's easy to fall into self-blame or criticism. You might think, I should have done something differently, or I don't deserve this. But remember, every being, including you, has their struggles, their pain, and their flaws. Compassion is the antidote to anger, and when you treat yourself with compassion, you disarm the power of disrespect. You don't have to fight against it because you have already found peace within. One of the most profound lessons in Buddhism is the understanding of impermanence. The Buddha taught that everything, including our emotions, is transient. Just as the weather changes, so too do our feelings and circumstances. Disrespect, no matter how harsh, will eventually pass. By understanding this, you free yourself from the need to hold on to the moment. You learn to let go, trusting that everything is in constant flow. Your emotional balance comes from knowing that the storms in life will clear, leaving calm skies behind. When you master emotional balance, you are no longer a prisoner to the opinions of others. Their words cannot shake you because your sense of self is not dependent on their validation. You are grounded in your own inner peace. It is like a tree with deep roots. No matter how strong the wind blows, the tree remains unmoved. In the same way, when you cultivate inner peace, you can face any storm without losing your center. The next step in mastering emotional balance is detachment. This doesn't mean indifference, but the ability to let go of the need for others to treat you a certain way. Detachment allows you to observe, rather than absorb, the disrespect of others. Imagine a rock standing in the middle of a river. The water flows around it, but the rock does not change. Similarly, you can learn to let others' disrespect flow past you without letting it disturb your inner calm. But how do we practice detachment? It begins by recognizing that the disrespect of others is not about you. It is a reflection of their state of mind, their pain, or their misunderstanding. When you can see this, you no longer take their words personally. You do not allow them to define your worth. You are, in essence, not attached to their judgment. This practice of non-attachment frees you from suffering because you no longer hold onto the belief that you must control how others treat you. Mindfulness plays a key role in emotional balance. When you are mindful, you are fully present in the moment, without distraction. In the face of disrespect, mindfulness allows you to assess the situation clearly, without the fog of anger or fear clouding your judgment. With mindfulness, you can ask yourself, what is the most compassionate way to respond? You are no longer reacting blindly. Instead, you respond with wisdom and clarity, grounded in your understanding of the impermanent nature of all things. As you continue to practice mindfulness, remember that forgiveness is an essential part of emotional balance. Forgiveness is not about excusing the behavior of others, but about freeing yourself from the chains of resentment. When you forgive, you release the power that the disrespect holds over you. You no longer carry the weight of the offense. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself, not to the person who wronged you. In the Buddhist tradition, forgiveness is a path to inner peace. By forgiving, you transcend the negativity that others may project onto you. You free yourself from the cycle of retaliation and suffering. Instead, you choose a higher path, one that leads to harmony and peace. Forgiveness allows you to return to your true nature, which is love and compassion. When you master emotional balance, you begin to see the world through a new lens. You understand that people's actions are often a reflection of their inner struggles. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself against every slight or insult. Instead, you stand firm in your own peace, knowing that you are not defined by the opinions of others. You choose to respond with kindness, even when others are unkind. Remember, the true power lies in how you choose to react. Disrespect may be a storm, but your emotional balance is the shelter that keeps you safe. With mindfulness, compassion, forgiveness, and detachment, you can weather any storm and emerge stronger, more centered, and more respected. Through this practice, you will find that the disrespect that once rattled you will no longer have the same power. You will command respect, not through force, but through the peace that radiates from within. And in the end, it is this peace that will ensure you are never disrespected again. Transforming perception through compassion. In the stillness of the morning, the Zen master sits, not to meditate on the past, nor to dream of the future, but to simply be. The present moment, untouched by the weight of judgment, holds the power to transform everything. To never be disrespected again, we must first understand the role that perception plays in our lives. When you are disrespected, what is truly happening? The disrespect is not an external event but a reaction, a perception that arises in your mind. What if you could change that perception? What if, instead of feeling hurt or defensive, you could meet disrespect with understanding and compassion? The essence of Buddhism teaches us that what we experience is not the world itself, but our perception of the world. Change the perception, and the world around you changes. Imagine you are walking in a crowded marketplace. People bustle past you, some bumping into you, others speaking harshly. A feeling of discomfort arises within you. You might be tempted to feel anger or frustration, but as a practitioner of mindfulness, you pause. Instead of reacting, you observe. Why is this happening? What is the true cause of your discomfort? The answer lies not in the actions of others, but in how you choose to perceive those actions. Compassion, as taught by Buddhism, is the key to transforming perception. Compassion allows you to see beyond the surface. When someone disrespects you, they are not attacking you. They are reflecting their own pain, their own insecurities, their own struggles. By responding with compassion instead of judgment, you change your perception of the situation. You no longer see an enemy. You see a fellow being caught in the same cycle of suffering that we all experience. This is not an easy task, for it requires patience and practice. When you are insulted or mistreated, the natural reaction is to defend yourself, to prove that you are worthy of respect. However, this only strengthens the ego and perpetuates the cycle of suffering. The true practice is to let go of the need to defend your self-image. Instead, ask yourself, why is this person acting this way? What do they need? How can I respond with compassion? When you practice compassion, you stop seeing disrespect as a personal attack. You stop seeing yourself as a victim. You begin to see that people act out of their own suffering, and that suffering is not your burden to carry. By seeing the world through compassionate eyes, you create a space where disrespect cannot take root. In this space, you are no longer dependent on the approval of others. You no longer seek validation from external sources because you have cultivated the most important source of respect, self-compassion. When you love yourself without conditions, you no longer need to prove your worth to anyone. You stand firm in the knowledge that your value is not determined by others' opinions. However, compassion is not just about others. It is also about you. You must show yourself the same kindness and understanding that you extend to others. How often do we berate ourselves for mistakes or shortcomings? How often do we allow self-criticism to dictate how we feel? The Zen master teaches that self-compassion is essential for true peace. When you are kind to yourself, when you accept your flaws and imperfections, you no longer seek external approval. You no longer allow disrespect from others to shake your sense of worth. Imagine a flower growing in a field. The flower does not compare itself to the other flowers around it. It does not strive to be taller or more beautiful. It simply blooms in its own unique way, nourished by the earth and the sunlight. In the same way, when you practice compassion, you become like that flower. You bloom in your own way, unaffected by the judgments or actions of others. You stand tall in the face of disrespect because you are rooted in the soil of self-compassion. Buddhism teaches that all suffering arises from attachment and aversion. We attach ourselves to the idea of being respected, and we push away feelings of disrespect. But in doing so, we only deepen our suffering. When we let go of these attachments, we free ourselves. We become like a leaf on a river, carried by the current without resistance. In the same way, when you release your attachment to respect, you are no longer vulnerable to disrespect. It flows past you, unable to cling to you. This doesn't mean you become passive or allow yourself to be mistreated. Compassion is not about tolerating abuse or neglect. It is about responding with wisdom and understanding. If someone disrespects you, it is okay to stand firm and set boundaries. But you do so from a place of calm and clarity, not anger or fear. You speak your truth with kindness, knowing that the person's actions are a reflection of their own struggles, not a judgment of your worth. The Zen master often says, "True strength lies in gentleness, and true wisdom lies in understanding." When you respond to disrespect with compassion, you do not lose your dignity. On the contrary, you elevate it. You become a mirror of peace, a steady presence in a world full of chaos. And in this steadiness, you will find that the disrespect of others no longer affects you. You will not be shaken, because your foundation is grounded in compassion. But how do you cultivate this compassion? It begins with mindfulness. The more present you are with yourself and others, the more you begin to see the truth behind actions. When someone disrespects you, take a moment to pause and breathe. Do not react immediately. Instead, observe. Ask yourself, what is really happening here? What is the deeper truth of this moment? In this space of mindfulness, compassion naturally arises. Another way to cultivate compassion is through loving kindness meditation. In this practice, you direct thoughts of goodwill toward yourself and others. You begin by offering kindness to yourself, saying, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease." Then, you expand this wish to others, including those who may have disrespected you. Through this practice, you begin to see that everyone, no matter how they behave, is deserving of love and compassion. The Buddha taught that all beings are interconnected. When you practice compassion, you are not only helping others, you are also helping yourself. You are healing the wounds of your own heart and breaking the cycle of suffering. Compassion frees you from the grip of resentment and anger. It opens the door to peace and joy, both for you and for those around you. As you move through life with compassion, you will find that the world begins to reflect your inner state. People will respect you, not because you demand it, but because your presence radiates a sense of calm and dignity. You will no longer need to fight for respect. It will come naturally as a result of the compassion you cultivate within yourself. In the end, the key to never being disrespected again lies in transforming how you perceive others and how you perceive yourself. When you see with the eyes of compassion, no action or word can disturb your peace. You become unshakable, like a mountain standing firm in the face of the storm. The role of ego in earning true respect. To understand respect, one must first understand the ego. It is the ego that often makes us feel disrespected, misunderstood, or less than others. But how does this happen? Why do we feel disrespected even in situations where no harm is intended? The answer lies in the ego, in its relationship to how we see ourselves. The ego is like a lens through which we view the world. It shapes how we perceive ourselves and how we react to others. When the ego is fragile or inflated, it becomes the source of many problems. It demands validation, constantly seeking approval from others, and when it does not get it, it reacts in anger or frustration. This creates a cycle where we either feel superior or inferior, but never truly at peace. True respect comes when the ego is understood and placed in its rightful place, not in control, but in balance. The ego is not inherently bad. It is a natural part of being human. However, when we allow the ego to control our thoughts, actions, and reactions, we create unnecessary tension. We make ourselves vulnerable to disrespect because we are too attached to how others view us. In Buddhism, the concept of anatta, the idea of no self, teaches us that the ego is not the essence of who we are. It is merely a construct, a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and experiences that shape our identity. When we cling too tightly to this construct, we become trapped in a cycle of seeking approval and avoiding rejection. This is when disrespect can hurt the most, when it challenges our fragile sense of self. But the path to true respect lies in recognizing that we are not our ego. We are not the sum of our thoughts, emotions, or the opinions of others. When we can separate ourselves from the ego, we begin to see things clearly. We realize that how others treat us has little to do with who we truly are. The key to peace and respect lies in not taking things personally, in not allowing the ego to dictate how we feel. Think of a river. The water flows freely, not concerned with whether it's clear or muddy. It simply flows. Similarly, when we detach from the ego, we can move through life with grace, unaffected by the judgments or disrespect of others. We do not need to prove ourselves, nor do we need to defend our worth. Our worth is inherent, not dependent on anyone's opinion. Buddhist practice teaches us to observe our thoughts without attachment. When we become aware of the ego's reactions, whether it's pride, shame, anger, or fear, we can begin to let go. We stop taking these emotions so seriously. We begin to laugh at ourselves, not from mockery, but from understanding. The ego is just a story we tell ourselves, not the truth of who we are. To cultivate respect, we must practice humility. Humility is not thinking less of ourselves, but thinking of ourselves less. When we stop making everything about our ego, whether we're being praised or criticized, we open the space for true respect to grow. Respect is not about elevating the ego, but about allowing our true nature to shine without the interference of self-centered thoughts. Another important lesson from Buddhism is the practice of equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain balanced, even in the face of disrespect or criticism. It's the quality of a person who is unmoved by the ups and downs of life, who does not react with anger or hurt when faced with judgment or disrespect. This inner peace comes from recognizing that our worth is not defined by how others treat us. When we practice equanimity, we understand that disrespect says more about the person who disrespects than about us. We begin to see that their words and actions are reflections of their own struggles, not a statement about our value. When we can view disrespect through this lens, it no longer holds the power to hurt us. Instead, we respond with compassion and understanding, recognizing that they too are caught in the web of their own ego. One of the most powerful ways to transcend the ego is through mindfulness. By being present in the moment, we step away from the constant chatter of the mind and the ego's desire for validation. Mindfulness allows us to witness our thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. When we observe the ego without judgment, we begin to loosen its grip on our lives. Through mindfulness, we can also practice letting go of the need to be right. Often, the ego seeks to defend itself, to prove that it is right and others are wrong. But true respect is not about being right. It's about understanding. When we let go of the need to be right, we open ourselves up to learning, growth, and deeper connection. We stop reacting out of ego and start responding from a place of wisdom and compassion. This shift in perspective is transformative. When we release the ego's need to be validated, we become free. Free from the fear of being disrespected, free from the anger that arises when we feel slighted, and free to truly be ourselves. We no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Our respect comes from within, and it radiates outward, creating a space where others feel respected as well. In Buddhist teachings, we learn the importance of right speech, right action, and right understanding. These are the ethical guidelines that help us live in harmony with ourselves and others. When we follow these principles, we naturally earn the respect of others. Right speech encourages us to speak with kindness and honesty, avoiding harmful words that can cause disrespect. Right action urges us to act with integrity and compassion, treating others with the same respect we wish to receive. Right understanding guides us to see the world clearly, without the distortion of ego, which allows us to interact with others in a way that fosters mutual respect. As we continue to cultivate humility, equanimity, mindfulness, and right understanding, we begin to break free from the cycle of ego-driven reactions. We no longer feel the need to defend ourselves when disrespected, because we understand that we are not defined by others' perceptions of us. Our respect is not something that others give to us. It is something we give to ourselves. In the end, the path to earning true respect is not about trying to change others or seeking approval from the world. It is about transforming ourselves, letting go of the ego, and embracing the wisdom and compassion that reside within us. When we do this, we naturally attract the respect we deserve. We become unshakable, free from the chains of ego, and able to live with a quiet dignity that commands respect effortlessly. Practicing mindful speech to command respect. When you speak, does your voice reflect the wisdom of your heart? Does it bring clarity and peace, or does it create noise and confusion? The words we use hold immense power. They can uplift others, or they can tear down entire worlds. In the teachings of Buddhism, speech is considered one of the most important aspects of our daily practice. It is not only a tool for communication, but a reflection of our inner state. When we are mindful of what we say, we command respect, not through force, but through the integrity of our words. The Buddha taught that right speech is a part of the Noble Eightfold Path, and it's essential in creating harmony with others and within ourselves. But how do we practice mindful speech in our daily lives, especially when faced with disrespect or conflict? First, consider the words you choose to speak. Are they truthful? Are they kind? Are they necessary? These three qualities, truth, kindness, and necessity, are the foundation of mindful speech. When we speak, we should ask ourselves, is what I'm about to say true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? These questions help us align our speech with our deeper values, ensuring that it reflects the respect we wish to receive from others. Truth is the first pillar of mindful speech. It is easy to speak without thinking, to say things that are half true or exaggerated to make ourselves appear more powerful or important. But in Buddhism, truthfulness is not just about stating facts. It is about speaking from a place of honesty and authenticity. When we speak the truth, we honor both ourselves and the other person. Lies, even small ones, create barriers between us and others. They undermine trust and destroy respect. By speaking truthfully, we foster genuine connections, and respect naturally follows. Kindness is the second pillar. It's one thing to speak the truth, but it's another to do so with kindness. There's a famous saying, "Speak as if your words are flowers." This means that even if the truth is difficult or uncomfortable, it should be spoken in a way that shows empathy and care for the other person's feelings. Mindful speech is never harsh or cruel. It doesn't seek to hurt or belittle, but to uplift and encourage. When we speak with kindness, we create an atmosphere of respect and understanding, no matter the situation. Necessity is the third pillar. It is important to consider whether what we are saying is truly needed in the moment. In Buddhism, there's a concept called noble silence, which teaches us the power of silence in maintaining peace and respect. Often, we speak just to fill the space or because we feel the need to say something. But not every thought needs to be spoken. In fact, silence can be more powerful than words in many situations. The practice of mindful speech encourages us to ask, does this conversation need my input? Is it necessary to speak now, or can I listen instead? By carefully considering the necessity of our words, we not only respect others, but also ourselves. Mindful speech requires us to be fully present in the moment. It asks us to slow down and think before we speak. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to rush through conversations without considering the impact of our words. But when we speak mindfully, we become more aware of the energy we bring into the conversation. Instead of reacting impulsively, we respond thoughtfully. This shift in approach creates an environment of respect where both parties feel heard and understood. In practical terms, how can we cultivate mindful speech in our daily interactions? The first step is to practice awareness. Pay attention to your speech patterns. Notice when you speak without thinking, when you raise your voice in anger, or when you say something that isn't completely true. As you become more aware of these habits, you can begin to shift them. Another helpful practice is to pause before responding. When someone disrespects you, your first impulse may be to react, perhaps with anger or frustration. But if you can pause, take a breath, and center yourself, you create the space needed to respond mindfully. In that pause, you might ask yourself, what is the most respectful response I can give right now? This simple practice helps you move from reaction to response, and it ensures that your speech reflects your deepest values. Buddhism also teaches us the power of silence. Not all disrespect demands a verbal response. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is remain silent, especially when your words might escalate the situation or cause further harm. Silence is not weakness. It is a strong and conscious choice to refrain from speaking when it's better to stay quiet. In fact, silence often commands more respect than any words could. It's an expression of inner peace and self-control. As you begin to practice mindful speech, you will notice that people start treating you with more respect. This is because your words carry weight. They reflect the clarity of your mind and the calmness of your heart. When you speak with integrity, kindness, and wisdom, others will naturally listen. They will sense that you are not speaking to gain attention, but to offer something of value. This makes you a source of authority, not because you demand it, but because your speech is rooted in truth and compassion. In challenging situations, it may be difficult to remain calm and mindful. But even in these moments, the teachings of Buddhism offer guidance. One of the key practices is to recognize that all situations are impermanent. Just as your emotions will pass, so too will the feelings of disrespect you encounter. By reminding yourself that everything is temporary, you can approach difficult conversations with a sense of detachment and calm. This allows you to speak from a place of clarity, rather than reacting out of hurt or frustration. Respectful speech also helps to defuse conflict. When two people are in disagreement, it's easy for the conversation to escalate into a battle of egos. But when you practice mindful speech, you create a space where dialogue can happen without attacking or blaming. You invite the other person to share their perspective, and do listen without judgment. This approach fosters understanding and reduces the likelihood of disrespect. As you develop the habit of mindful speech, you may find that your relationships improve. People will appreciate your ability to speak with honesty, kindness, and clarity. They will come to trust you, knowing that you always have something valuable to say. And over time, this trust will transform into mutual respect. In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is to achieve wisdom, and speech is a vital part of that journey. By cultivating mindful speech, you bring yourself closer to wisdom. You begin to understand that your words are not just a means of communication, but a tool for building a peaceful and respectful world. Every time you speak with intention, you contribute to the collective well-being of those around you. Finally, remember that mindfulness is a practice. It's not about being perfect, it's about making a consistent effort to align your words with your inner values. Over time, you'll notice that your speech becomes more thoughtful, more respectful, and more powerful. You will have mastered the art of speaking in a way that commands respect, not through force, but through the authenticity and wisdom of your words. So, practice mindful speech each day. Start with small conversations. Pay attention to the words you use and the way you say them. Notice how it feels to speak with kindness and clarity. And watch as the respect you've always wanted begins to flow effortlessly into your life. The power of non-attachment in overcoming disrespect. In the world around us, we often find ourselves caught up in the need for approval, recognition, and validation from others. But what if I told you that the secret to never being disrespected again lies not in controlling what others think of you, but in freeing yourself from the need for their approval altogether? This is the essence of non-attachment. It is not about distancing yourself from others or living in isolation. It is about freeing your heart from the constant pull of external expectations, judgments, and labels. When you practice non-attachment, you are not dependent on others' actions or words to define your worth. You stand firm in who you are, no matter what the world around you does. Think about it. If you are attached to the idea of being respected, then every time someone disrespects you, it will sting. It will hurt because you are relying on that external validation to feel good about yourself. But if you let go of this attachment to approval, you become untouchable. The words and actions of others no longer control your inner peace. In that space of freedom, no one can disrespect you. Let us take a moment to understand this with a simple example. Imagine a tree standing tall in a vast field. The tree is not concerned with what the wind says about it, or whether the birds choose to land on its branches. It simply stands, rooted in the earth, its leaves rustling peacefully in the breeze. Now, imagine someone throwing stones at the tree. Does the tree flinch? Does it become angry? No. The tree remains steady, unmoved by the stones, because its roots are deep and it is not attached to the reactions of the world around it. In the same way, when we are not attached to others' opinions, we become like that tree, unmoved, undisturbed, and firm in our place. This is the power of non-attachment. Now, let us consider how non-attachment works in the context of respect. In Buddhism, we are taught that attachment to anything, whether it's to material possessions, desires, or even to people's perceptions of us, causes suffering. The more we cling to these things, the more we invite dissatisfaction and pain into our lives. If you are attached to being respected, for example, you will always be vulnerable to disrespect. But if you release this attachment, you create a space of peace within yourself, a space where others' opinions no longer have power over you. The practice of non-attachment does not mean that you stop caring about others or that you no longer value respect. It simply means that you no longer allow your happiness or sense of self-worth to be dictated by how others treat you. You become free. You begin to operate from a place of inner calm and strength, not from the need to prove anything to anyone. Non-attachment is not about denying your feelings or pretending that you don't care when others disrespect you. It's about choosing how to respond. When you are attached to the need for respect, any hint of disrespect can cause you pain and anger. But when you are not attached to it, you can see disrespect for what it truly is, a reflection of the other person's own struggles, insecurities, or ignorance. You no longer take it personally. It's simply their way of expressing themselves, and you do not need to internalize it. Imagine if every time someone disrespects you, you could respond with calm understanding without anger or hurt. How different would your life be if you could meet disrespect with compassion, not defensiveness? This is the power of non-attachment. In Buddhism, we are encouraged to practice mindfulness in every moment. This includes being mindful of our attachment to external things, including the opinions of others. Through mindfulness, we can observe our thoughts and reactions without getting swept up in them. When we catch ourselves feeling offended or disrespected, we can pause